For this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with blowing and freezing snow.
Hello and welcome to the SnowBrains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most interesting people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge on to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, a mountain guide, an Alaska heli ski guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of SnowBrains, and I'm feeling super grateful right now as I realize that I may have just had the most interesting ski season of my life. 9 stunning locations made the year a blurry fairy tale, and the people along the way amplified it to a whole nother level. Tahoe, Patagonia, Antarctica, Alaska, British Columbia, Italia, the Eastern Sierra, Utah, and Jackson Hole. Thank you so much. Want the fastest, easiest way to get on the mountain? Buy your Smugs lift tickets online and save big. Lock in the best prices before you arrive, skip the lines, and head straight to the snow. Whether you're chasing powder, cruising groomers, or getting the whole crew together for a day on the slopes, scoring your tickets online is the ultimate power move. More savings, more skiing, less waiting. Visit smugs.com. My guest today is Vasu Sojitra. Vasu is one of the most influential skiers in the world, a professional skier, filmmaker, and activist. He lost his leg to cancer at just 9 months old, long before he ever clipped into skis. What he's done since has redefined what's possible in the mountains. Vasu is known for his big mountain skiing, backcountry expeditions, and powerful storytelling that challenges how we think about ability, access, and inclusion in outdoor spaces. Through his skiing, films, and advocacy, he has helped change the conversation around adaptive sports and who the mountains are really for. Hello, Vasu. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to dive into it.
Me too, man. I'm excited to learn all about you because this is, from what I've seen, I just watched a couple of your movies. Very cool, very interesting, and inspiring, man. I love all the inclusivity and all the things that you're doing. When did you ski last, though? That's most important.
Oh, it's been a second. I mean, what is it now? August. So my last day was in the Beartooth Pass when that opened up here in Montana. So sometime in May, I want to say.
How you went to the ski resort, the Beartooth Ski Resort? How was that?
I actually don't really ski the ski resort because I can't really use a Poma lift that well, but
That makes sense.
the community's small, so I always try to promote. I think they only run for like really several weeks in the summer. So, I don't know how that business model works out, but seems like they've been doing well for the past handful of years. But yeah, I mostly ski like the backcountry, side country right off the road there.
I want to do that. It looks super fun. And one of my best buddies who I'm here with is from Bozeman, and he gets up there and loves it. How many days do you think you skied last winter?
Probably around 100 plus, most
Nice.
likely.
Nobody's as nerdy
Maybe.
as me and keeps track of every single day.
No, I lose track after the first day. I don't really
Nice. I like that.
bother.
Well, I'm really excited to dive into your pro skiing career, your organization, Inclusive Outdoors Project, your perspective on life, and a lot more. But I'd love to start with your life story. So let's jump into your quick and dirty life story. Maybe take 3 minutes. If you need longer, take longer. But I'd love to hear your story, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're headed.
So yeah, I was born in Connecticut on the East Coast. Around the age of 9 months old, I was diagnosed with septicemia, a blood infection in my right leg. So they had to amputate that before it got to my heart. But I'm still alive today. Right when that happened, I was in the hospital for several months. And then afterwards, my parents decided to move us, me and my older brother included, back to India for more family support. And there we stayed for about 5 years. So around the age of 2 to 7, stayed there about 5 years. So they were constantly like shipping medical equipment back and forth. So crutches and prosthetics and things like that. Now the technology in India has gotten so much better. So don't need to do that as much. But back in the day in the 90s, early 90s, we were just shipping prosthetics back and forth every time I would break it. So after a little bit of doing that, decided to move back to the States. That was about 7 or 8 years old, and a few years into living in Connecticut, got into more extreme sports. Was watching things like Rocket Power and Johnny Tsunami on TV, and I was like, wow, this is super cool. I should try skateboarding. And then, watching the X Games and skateboarding in the summer, and then, the Winter X Games in the winter. And I was like, oh, okay, like skiing and snowboarding, like that looks super cool too. So tried to dabble in that around the age of 9 or 10. I can't quite remember exactly, but I was in third grade, so around that time. And that was mostly at like a little local ski hill in Connecticut called Ski Sundown, probably 400 or 500 vertical, not even that much, maybe. I have no idea. You might have to fact check me on that. Yeah, and learned to ski there. Was in ski lessons for half a day, and adaptive skiing, at least on the teaching side, wasn't quite well built out yet in the whole PSIA realm of things. Now it's very much huge industry with adaptive skiing in a lot of different ski areas. But back then it was a little smaller, and the instructor was having a difficult time trying to teach me. So me and my brother kind of dipped out and went and did our own thing. He was snowboarding, I was skiing, and I was just trying to keep up. And he would go down runs I didn't really feel like going down. I would take 1 or 2 turns and fall, get back up, do 2 or 3 turns and fall. And then, like, very coincidentally, maybe some sort of divine intervention or something, I was laying on like a green run at the bottom of the ski area, and another skier with one leg saw me and came up to me and told me to keep going. And then he kind of skied off. In the moment, I was like, wow, he's really good. And then obviously in hindsight, pretty moderate skier, nothing too outrageous, but just kind of cool to have that happen the first day of going skiing. You're like, oh, wow, like, I wonder what kind of equipment he's using. I'll have to go look into that, and dove into the outriggers that Paralympians use and other adaptive skiers use, and tried to convince my parents of getting that. Several $100s later, here we are a little bit. But yeah, I just fell in love with skiing, made some friends, started going up north to Massachusetts and Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, upstate New York. Decided to go to school there at University of Vermont as well, and try to ski as much as possible with friends. The bus system was great. They would drop you off, pick you up at the local ski areas, so it made it much easier to do that. And then once we got cars, it was much easier, of course, as well, to just go with friends. That's kind of how I started to fall in love with skiing. And then there was this competition that Columbia Sportswear was putting out after I had graduated, and one of my close friends found it online somewhere. And it was like, prove to us that you're like the biggest ski bum. And me and a friend decided to make a video of me ski touring up Stowe one early, I think it was in November too, so pretty early season. Got some good footage, interviewed me, and long story short there, got second place in that whole thing. Columbia hit us up after the fact and said, like, sorry you didn't win, but like we'd still love to work with you on something. So they helped us sponsor a short film that got into all the film festivals when I was like 21. That was like, 12, 13 years ago now. And that got into Banff, Telluride, or Mountain Film, all the other small ones. Showed it in Vermont a bunch, showed it at a bunch of outdoor gear shops and things like that. And that started kind of skyrocketing my athlete career. And I started promoting myself online. Instagram and social media was like just popping off at that time. So I think I got a little lucky in the timing of it all. Started promoting photos and videos of me skiing, skateboarding, all the things, playing soccer. Started to get me followers online. Started signing with different companies, DPS, Ortavox, Deuter, Julbo were some of my first ones, and then switched over to North Face and Faction Skis, Subaru, REI, started becoming the bigger ones more recently. But yeah, as that started growing, it kind of just became like a snowball effect from like 21, 22 till now, which I'm 33, so 11 to 12 years ago now.
Congrats, man. You're living the dream. I mean, it seems really apparent from my perspective, and hearing that backstory is really cool. And what was the name of the movie that blew up so well for you? It was in Banff and all that.
Yeah, that one was called Out on a Limb.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I watched that one today. Really good, highly recommended, very inspirational. And I think that's more about that. I think that's a really crystalline moment when you saw the other one-legged skier. And was it more than just the gear? Was it also that, hey, this is a thing? Because I'm someone who spends a lot of time on the mountain, and I don't see one-legged skiers often. So that you saw one on your first day, that's really incredible.
I know, right? So I like now that I back at it, I'm like, did that actually happen? Or like what is,
Did you
So
imagine that?
yeah, right. So I think it did, from all of my hitting my head over the years skiing or whatever, but I think it did. Who knows? But yeah, it was definitely like, how why representation matters, and that's
Oh yeah.
definitely a big thing that I focus on, of like making sure mainstream media particularly starts diving into different communities for sure, just so like people start seeing themselves in these spaces. I don't want these spaces to be categorized as only specifically for a certain community. I'm like, it doesn't matter. We invented these sports. We can shape them into whatever we feel like. Obviously, there's a ton of unwritten rules and ethics when it comes to skiing, and it's hard to know all of it. Me teaching my girlfriend how to ski for the past several years, telling her all these little things over and over again. I'm like, oh yeah, there are a lot of little quirks that come with skiing.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, how do you carry your skis? How do you boot pack? What are the like ethics of boot packing? All these things that just kind of start piling up, and it's easy to forget, of course. So yeah, I mean, still just trying to make sure people feel welcomed. Seeing that representation, I feel like kind of a good start for a lot of people, including myself. Me watching like Rocket Power and things like Johnny Tsunami, it's like, oh, that person looks like me. He has a little darker skin doing this kind of sport. Or listening to Salema Masakela, like running the voice of the X Games, and now I'm friends with him. It's like, holy shit, like this is kind of cool. But him being like one of the first like diverse people in the snow sports space, and seeing that and seeing where that's grown into, it kind of just is another version of a snowball effect, I feel like, for a lot of people. It's a good start. It's a good stepping stone, I think.
No question. And I think making people feel welcome is one of our weaknesses, personally, I think, in the ski and snowboard industry. And so I love that you're taking that step and doing what you can. And I am curious too, how did you feel when you had those lessons when you were first learning and maybe that first day and they didn't know how to deal with you? I wonder if that helped inspire you as well to be more involved in the adaptive skiing and all the things that you do now.
I was a very stubborn kid, so I didn't really care too much about what other people knew. So I was just going to do it regardless. I also have an older brother who mostly, I mean, I don't know if you have any older siblings, but a lot of teasing, a lot of tough love was
I'm
involved
the
in
older
the
sibling. I'm the one that did that.
there you go. Yep. So, yeah, a lot of tough love and a lot of not too much hand holding, but being there supporting just in case I really needed his support. But most of the time, he would just kind of tell me to figure out how to do it myself. That kind of support is super helpful. My parents kind of did the same thing, a little bit more on the parental side of like caring a lot more than an older brother in that sense, but still providing me that support whenever needed. Those two components were definitely a big influence in like how I navigated society in general, and then people that didn't know how to like work with my disability. So I would kind of just say like F off, I'm gonna go do it myself. Maybe that's like the skateboarder in me still, who knows.
I like that. And actually, tell me a little bit about the skateboarding, because I will say, from my perspective, when I watched your movies today, the thing I was most excited about was the skateboarding. When I saw you skating and doing tricks, like how did you get into state? I mean, to think of a person with one leg skateboarding, most people just like no. But when you see it and you see you doing it, it's you're clearly doing it at a high level. You're comfortable and having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the first extreme sport that I started getting into. And that was, again, because of those media movies and shows that I was watching, X Games, of course, being one of them. And I just wanted to try it. And I was like, I don't know, like maybe I can use my front crutch to do something. Had a Walmart board, bought it for whatever, 15, $20. And then slowly saved up to get like a nicer, I think it was a World Industries board. It's like Flamer Boy and Wet Willie or something are the two characters. I just spent a ton of time on flat ground playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater and watching people like Rodney Mullen do flatland tricks. And I was like, oh, I think I might be able to do that with my back foot or use my crutch to flip the board or something. So I started learning on like that. And it was a bloody mess most of the time. Like the board would hit my shin and just like, yeah, it would be super painful. But practice makes some sort of perfect, and I spent tons of hours just outside skateboarding alone in the grass and on the pavement wherever I could, and other kids in the neighborhood in the apartment complexes we grew up in would join in or I would join them, and we would just kind of start messing around with the skateboard, trying to figure out different tricks and whatnot, and it kind of just like progressed that way.
I love it, man. I also wanted to categorize you on the nerd-o-meter. So you said you went to college. I think you said Vermont. Where'd you go to school and what'd you study?
I did go to University of Vermont. I studied mechanical engineering. So I have a somewhat of a reputable degree, but I don't really use it. So
I wonder, has it helped? Have you had to do any engineering on so you call I don't know what the right word is, you call them your ninja sticks. Have you had to do any engineering? Like, did the ME degree come in handy for that at all?
I believe it did. I think my mind is definitely based around problem solving and working backwards, just like how a lot of engineers work. And I first wanted to stay in engineering, but then I just kind of drifted off into the adaptive space. But for me personally, the ninja sticks, or outriggers as they call them, ski outriggers or crutches, for ski touring, backcountry skiing and ski mountaineering, developed a snowshoe basket that attaches to the bottom, and I can, take it off, put it on, just like ski touring skins. And that was with the help of a few friends at UVM and our outing club, and through a course I took. It was a backcountry avalanche awareness course that I took for a season, and that really opened my eyes, and we definitely worked through a lot of things to figure out what equipment would work. And then a few years after, I was getting into steeper skiing. Some of my favorite things to do is steep skiing, like 45, 50, 55 degree pitches here in Montana. And I was like, okay, I definitely need to get something that helps me self-arrest. Based on that, just started to develop an idea of adding a ice axe attachment on the backside of the handle. I don't know if you've seen that in any of the footage or photos, but it's just kind of like a ice axe pick. If the handle is like, here, I can show you my crutch at least.
Yeah, that was
right
one of my specific questions is, tell me about the ice axe crutch. That's so cool.
Yeah, so if the handle's right here, the ice axe comes off this way, right? So if I'm holding the crutch like this, I can just drop my elbow into the ground and put my whole weight onto it to help me self-arrest if I need to stop myself. And that's been super useful. I mean, I haven't really needed it too much. I've self-arrested or helped, someone who lost their footing on my rope team self-arrest a few times, but nothing too outrageous. Nice to have that insurance for sure when it comes to steeper skiing. Would I rather get stabbed in my thigh or fall to my death? It's kind of like the lesser of two evils, I guess. But so far, have not stabbed myself, so that's good.
Yeah, I always go back and forth, and you see different people. My friend Andrew McLean invented that whippet, which is the ski pole ice axe. And then I think Cody Townsend wrote an article about how he thinks they're terrible. And you hear all kinds of people go back and forth. But in my small experience I haven't actually ever used one personally, but in my small experience around people with them, people that use them love them. I have friends that in the backcountry just take them every day if it's springtime. But it does make me want to jump forward a bunch of questions, and I can go back because you mentioned somebody on your rope team made me think of you skied Denali. I would just love to hear, I guess this was in 2021, you and Pat McAfee completed the first adaptive ski descent of Denali. What was that experience like? Highlight some challenges, some triumphs. There must have been some pain points and some breakthroughs. I'd love to hear all of it.
Yeah, it was very exciting to be able to, one, attempt that, of course, and also succeed. A lot of the times, I don't know if you're the same way, but for me, success isn't really summiting a mountain or anything. It's mostly just making it back home, especially for me. Like, I don't know how long you've been in this space for, but I've been in it for 15 years almost. And I swear every other year, now that I'm in it deeper, it's every year someone passes away that's close. In a mountain accident. So
how many friends, sorry to interrupt, I asked everybody this, how many friends do you think you've lost in the mountains?
I would say at least a dozen, probably. Yeah,
and you're only a third of your way through your life,
Yeah, exactly. So I tell my partner who just is getting into skiing and mountain sports, I'm like, just a heads up, this happens every year. We lost Pashley this past year. The year before it was Mike Gardner, and the year before was Hillary O'Neill. It's like, oh my God. All these start adding up, of course. But anyways, back to the original point is like my version of success was definitely to just make it home safely. That was not quite the vision of success for some of the other teammates. So we just had to kind of work on those pain points and get them back to reality a little bit more. It was 6 guys, and that's a lot of ego.
You better believe it.
In general. Few of us definitely had our heads on straight for the most part, and a few did not, to put it pretty bluntly. And it was definitely an eye-opening experience to see what I would say like somewhat of a mediocre dynamic team, what that feels like to be on some sort of not so well-adjusted team. Just,
Right.
you know. And yeah, there was definitely a lot of tough conversations to be had to just try to like slow people down, or I mean on an expedition where you're just sitting around for the most part and only moving a few days here and there, like there's definitely a lot of anxiety that starts building up and people need to move around and whatnot, and then sometimes that starts overflowing into personal behavior. So
Are you able to share some of the behaviors that caught your eye that made you feel like these people's heads are not on straight?
yeah, I mean, some of them, like, it'll come out in the film. Pete, he's a great guy. He definitely is one of those that just puts his head down and just charges without kind of considering what's happening around him. So, and he'll say that too about himself. And it works fine in lower elevation, of course. He lives in Oregon and he climbs Shasta and all these other places where you can do that. But high altitude, like, it's just a lot different story, especially with nutrition and hydration and just going at a pace that's a bit slower and more tedious and just like kind of conflicts with his way of moving in the mountains. So that was definitely a big thing that got us in trouble. And we were climbing from 11 camp to 14 camp, and it took us about 12 hours because of the weight of our gear. We had about 1,000 pounds of gear that we were hauling up, including like it was a lot of camera gear and a dome tent. There's not a lot of people that film on Denali for a reason.
Right.
It's a lot of weight, and he wanted to carry his own weight, and I had split up my weight between a few friends on the team just so I didn't destroy my shoulders. You know, around midnight, it was like -20 or something by that time. We were going around Windy Corner, and we were moving as a team slowly, just trying to get to camp. It was about like 800 feet more vert, probably a mile or two left. And Pete just fully collapses and
Oh, wow.
pretty much bonks super hard. Never a good thing, especially at high altitude and out there. So we decided to feed him. I was the first to get to him, and I was just asking him, like, when's the last time you drank water or ate anything? He's like, oh, I don't know, like right when we left camp. I was like, dude,
Oh
that
my
was like
gosh.
12. That was like more than 12 hours ago. You're
God.
like, I did call. I'm trying to
Not-
remember if I called him an idiot or a fucking idiot. One of the two. And then I started shoving food into his mouth and giving him water. He was very surprised that I was doing that because before that point, he always thought that I was some like super hyper woke liberal, super fragile and whatnot. So in that moment, I think he kind of switched his thought process around me and started to respect me a little bit more. And even prior to that, he was like, he's just an influencer, blah, blah, blah. He's not like that strong of an athlete, gonna hold us back, all these things. So it was quite the dynamic between the two of us when it came down to it. But I think there was definitely a few turning points. That was definitely one of them that got him to start realizing where I'm coming from a little bit more. That was definitely an eye-opener on the team. There was a
Intense.
few other ones, but yeah.
If you have time, I'd love to hear another one. I know that our listeners are fascinated by places like Denali.
Yeah, I mean, Denali, people keep saying it's one of the harder 7 summits because you don't have any porters or Sherpa, anyone helping you out. You're carrying everything on and off that mountain, and the success rate is pretty low compared. So, and this is coming from someone like Conrad Anker, who's telling me this before I went on this trip. I'm like, great, thanks. So,
No one makes it. You probably won't
yeah.
either later.
Yeah. I think the success rate that year before we went was 35 or 38%. So that's pretty
Wow.
low for a
That is
7
low.
summit. But I mean, we kind of just took our time, waited out weather windows, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was another situation where Pete got himself into a sticky one where we were going up to West Buttress on if you're at 14 camp, it's Looker's Left, and you have to go up this steep head wall. At first, you can just kind of have your crampons on and slowly step up it to this fixed rope. The fixed rope section is maybe 100 yards, pretty steep. The year that we did it, there was like 3 inches or so of really dense blue ice because
Whoa.
there just was a lot of warming happening, and the Berkshire was getting bigger and bigger that year. I don't know what it looks like now, but it's probably a little bigger. So we were just trying to figure out the safest way that I would be using the fixed lines. While we were figuring that out, Pete had already scurried himself all the way up to the top of the West Buttress. He was waiting there for us. We were still trying to figure out, okay, so I have to use both my hands to pretty much ice climb this ice slab. But how do I ascend at the same time on this fixed rope? So we figured out a good system that worked for us, but that took like 45 minutes or so. So Pete wasn't down to wait 45 minutes. So he started just kind of soloing the West Buttress a little bit on this knife edge ridge. And once we got up there, we as in me, the two filmmakers, Eric Repka and Stein Retzlav.
I didn't know you were with Eric and Stein. I love those guys. Continue. That's rad.
Yeah. So us three got up there and we're like, where's Pete?
Oh, no.
And we looked to our left down the West Buttress, and there you see like a speck hobbling along the knife edge ridge, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. And that was like the first and only time I've seen Stein actually, raise his voice and be pissed about something.
I bet.
I don't think
Damn.
And that was another moment. And then after that, Pete was just like, all right, the moment leave camp, I'm roped in. That was like his like little, he just needed to be on a leash pretty much. So,
yeah, I mean, that is insane.
I mean, people solo it, people do that stuff, but like just for our sake as a team that's trying to do something a bit more monumental and being the first disabled skiers to ski off Denali, like we just needed to make sure everything was safe and secure, and we didn't throw more variables into the mix. So just trying to cut all those out. Pete doing a few of these things definitely didn't, but I think he learned from his mistakes throughout to stop being a little arrogant in the mountains and not viewing them as much as a playground as it is, like with a little bit more respect, I guess. I think our ski and mountain culture sometimes forgets about that and starts viewing these spaces as like quote unquote playgrounds. It definitely gets us into like really, really sticky situations.
Teamwork is everything up there. And so to think that you have a team member who I would argue the most challenging part of the climb is like, I'm going to solo this part later. That's terrifying. And I'm curious what you learned as far as being an adaptive athlete up there that maybe could help other folks who are interested in adaptive mountaineering. Were there any hacks or using your mechanical engineering degree to change things? And you're talking about how you had to figure out how to ice climb up fixed lines. Were there any other experiences or risk, gear, support, mindset that helped?
I mean, yeah, I think it goes back to that team. I play soccer too. I think that team sport mindset really helps me in the ski space a bit more. The ski space can become so individualistic many of the times.
Yes.
But in ski mountaineering and expeditions, losing focus of the team kind of gets, again, people into some sticky situations. So yeah, definitely for me, it was relying on the team in a way that worked well for all of us. I will say I'm strong, but like me carrying 120 pounds all the way to 14 camp is pretty difficult for me, and I really wanted to save my shoulders and arms for quote unquote the upper mountain, which is from 14,000 feet to the summit and back, which is more the harder part given the altitude. So I was kind of starting to shed some weight off my sled, off my backpack to my teammates who are pretty much built like linebackers. So I was like, okay, like you guys can take a little bit more weight this go around. Is that all right? And they're like, oh yeah, totally. So I didn't want to be too much of a burden in that way, but they were totally open to helping the whole process go smoothly. The way I view it is like, in some ways I might need some support, and in other ways the team might need some support from me. Like during some of those hard, difficult conversations, I think I was one of those people that kept a level head throughout the whole expedition. And that I think was a good kind of way of supporting the team mentality versus kind of thinking on my own, only caring about myself. So it was a good way to like start supporting the team in a way that kind of drove us to a successful expedition. I think that's like the biggest thing a lot of people overlook is that team dynamic and just like how to work through difficult conversations. Because for some reason, as you probably know, like adversity definitely brings out some demons. in a lot of people. So,
Yes.
especially at like high altitude with like haven't showered, haven't been around loved ones, all these things start like
Hmm.
culminating, and it just people's true personalities start really surfacing, and their poor behavior starts surfacing. So starting to like figure out how to work with that and manage that, I think, is a big key in the mountaineering space. A lot of like tunnel vision and expert halo and all these things start really surfacing. So yeah, moving away from that and just staying as grounded as possible in a very extreme scenario, I think, is something that I definitely learned and tried to focus on throughout that expedition.
The tunnel, yeah, you remind me. So I think a lot of that, you're sort of alluding to, people end up in, they have like dark thought processes and it starts to affect their behavior. And I feel like it's when they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel is when I notice it. One of the best places to not see the light at the end of the tunnel is when you're high on a mountain and things aren't going your way, because it's not like you can just drop down and go home. It's not like you're at a ski resort. You could pop into the lodge and get a hot chocolate. You are out there, you are exposed, and you could end up in a really bad way. So I think that's a really cool perspective, that the team that can bring you that light at the end of the tunnel. I really do believe that. And you mentioned having that 120-pound pack. And you are a strong skier, and you are a strong person. You're carrying massive amounts of weight up to 14,000 feet and above. I am curious, and when I watched your Out on a Limb movie, some of your friends talked about you being the strongest athlete they know. How did you become a great skier? And what do you do for training? Do you have a strict diet? Like, I would love to know how you became such a great skier and how you got so strong and what training you do.
Great part is I like to take part in a lot of different sports, and I think they are great cross training for each other. So I love soccer. I play soccer. I now play soccer professionally for the past several years
Oh, wow.
on the
Congrats. I didn't
on
catch that
the
part. Wow.
so yeah, I was added to the US amputee soccer team in
Could you tell us more about
2019.
that? That's insane. That's so cool.
So it's amputee soccer. It's a little different. It's 7v7, six field players, one goalie, 60-yard field, smaller goals. So it kind of feels more like hockey or lacrosse mixed with soccer. I say mixed also with jousting because the crutches kind of are super painful when you get hit by them,
I bet.
which happens pretty frequently during a game. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing soccer my entire life. It was the first sport I picked up when I was younger. And in India, it's a global sport. So once I moved back to the States, kicking it around in the backyard along with skateboarding, those are kind of the two focuses. And then, playing intramural at UVM, and then playing in the town league here in Bozeman, more like a beer league, nothing too outrageous, but people obviously take it competitively, which is great to
Yeah.
a certain extent. Some people kind of get a little emotional, to say the least. Um, yeah, I mean, they hit me up several years ago in 2018 or 19, right after the World Cup. Our World Cup is also on the same schedule as the mainstream World Cup. So
Mhm.
their World Cup ended in 2018, and they were starting to recruit more people, started taking part in more trainings and practices and tryouts and things like that. Got to go to Turkey for our World Cup. We
Wow.
did pretty well. We made it out of the group stages and lost to the team that was fourth place. That was good. I
Well
think for
done.
us, we were pretty exhausted by the end of it. Yeah, I mean, it's been cool to play soccer. It's definitely, again, great cross training for skiing. It's a lot of lateral movement, I mean, everything I do is a full body workout, from trail running to soccer to skiing to skateboarding to whatever. It just involves my whole body. It's not just like if you're a soccer player, your quads are the size of a tree trunk. My shoulders are also the size of a tree trunk. So there's a bit of that comes from it. And it's kind of a silver lining, I'd say, of like if I do any sport, it works well as a cross training tool for the other ones. And with skiing, I mean, we just went a bunch. I lived in Vermont for several years, moved to Bozeman. Bozeman has amazing access to trails, and I mean, I live adjacent to a trail, so can just walk out the door and go for a trail run. That's definitely helped a ton in my endurance. I do enjoy endurance sports, so I think that's helped in the ski touring side of things as well, and kind of just digging deep a little bit as those demons start surfacing and managing those on some of those long runs or long ski tours where my arms are starting to feel like wet noodles. Pretty balanced there, I think, and just trying to make sure I don't blow my shoulders out when it
And
comes
yeah,
down
and
to
on
it.
that note, have you had any injuries? Have you had any ski injuries especially?
Yeah, I've had several. I broke my arm sophomore year of high school skiing. My arm was stuck in my outrigger and I just kind of flipped over it and it
Oof.
snapped my ulna and radius in half. Ironically, literally any injury I have, I end up in a wheelchair. So I was in a wheelchair for a broken arm.
Oh, that sucks.
In 2017, maybe, I want to say, I blew my knee out. I
No.
ruptured my patella tendon,
Oof.
fully ruptured it. My kneecap
Wow.
was
Okay.
halfway up my thigh. That was the year I was about to sign with North Face, and I was like, ah, shit. This
Damn
is
it.
yeah. So then I talked to the manager, my team manager at the time, or soon to be team manager. He's like, oh, don't worry, like half the ski and snowboard team have blown knees. You're fine. I was like, oh, thank God.
Was the manager Pashley at the time?
He wasn't. No, Pashley
No.
was at Smartwell at the time,
Okay.
I believe. But yeah,
Nice.
before that. But
And that's a relatively clean fix, though, right? Well, it's sort of direct. They just sew it back together. Was that your only injury when you had that knee injury, or did you hurt something else in there?
no, I think that was it. But the doctor was like, "Wow, this is a really bad one." And he was kind of like the main U.S. ski team doctor, and I was like, "Wow, you
Oh,
probably have seen a lot too." But then yeah, I went back. I hit PT super hard. I was going like 3 or 4 times a week, and just trying to get my mobility back in my knee. It just takes a minute. Literally at the same time, or like a week after my knee injury, Ingrid had blown her knee out too, and I had just connected with her, and
oh, cool.
at that time, and she was just telling me like, "Oh, this is my other knee that I blown out." So I'm like, "Oh my God, of
Oh,
course."
so
So,
bad.
but it's kind of wild for folks that have 2 legs. They make you start walking like immediately as possible from a patella tendon rupture. So I didn't quite have that privilege. So definitely had to like figure out how to get that mobility back over the months from surgery. So
Talking about knee injuries makes me want to think about jumping cliffs. But did you have more injuries? Sorry.
I did, but it was like kind of a weird minor one. I accidentally punched a tree on a traverse bridger bowl and I
Oof.
broke my pinky.
No.
Um, at first, I thought it was a dislocation. It looked like a dislocation, so I kept popping it back in. Then I would bend my finger and it would pop back out. And I was like, this is weird. What's happening? So then I went to ski patrol. They did the same thing, and they're like, you should maybe go got an X-ray done. And it was like the smallest little bone had broken, and they had to put screws and rods into it. And I was like,
Oh, what a
Jesus, okay,
pain.
yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully that didn't put you in a wheelchair, though.
That didn't. I convinced the doctor to form my cast around my crutches. And funny story was that was a week before I had my first full video shoot with Subaru for a project I was doing with them. And I was like, oh God, okay, well, can we schedule the surgery prior to this shoot? And I did. And the doctor was like, all right, no major exercise or anything on your hands or arms. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I had them form the cast, the like temporary cast around my crutches because I was like, Doc, like, I'm not gonna be in a wheelchair for a broken pinky. This is the stupidest thing ever. And
Yeah,
he's like,
that would
okay,
suck.
fine. Okay, fine, fair. Like, try not to put too much weight on your right arm, I guess. But more so, I just wanted to make sure that I could use my outriggers. And if you watch the Subaru video of me skiing, you might be able to see a cast on my right hand. I went down to Jackson, filmed with another friend of mine who has one leg, Kira Brzezinski, and she made a funny joke of like, well, I hope now I can keep up with you that you have a broken hand. Like, you know, this is like
I've met
leveling
Kira.
the
She's
playing
great.
field for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's kind of a funny one where kind of like a golf handicap.
It does make me think of jumping cliffs because I saw in one of your videos today you jumping a big cliff and stomping it and skiing away. I thought that was so cool. I think that everybody who likes to watch skiing and snowboarding loves to see people jump cliffs in some way, shape, or form and capacity. And so, talk to me about dropping cliffs. How big do you go? What was your biggest cliff? Where's your favorite place to jump off rocks?
I mean, I've kind of slowed it down now. I feel like I'm at the other end of the bell curve when it comes to
Because you're smart.
athletics. Maybe, who knows? My parents might not think so, but let's see. I mean, when I was younger, in late teens and early 20s, I was hitting 20, 30. I think my biggest one was a 40-foot cliff at Mad River Glen. And
Damn.
it was mostly just on like a massive powder day where you just bomb hole.
Uh huh.
But yeah, I've hit 20 or 30 foot cliffs. Haven't gotten back to it, but 20 foot, I mean, like, I don't know if the cliff is 20 feet or the amount of air time I get is 20 feet, you know, so.
20 feet's a big cliff. If you want a winter getaway that does everything, Smugglers Notch is the place. Stay right in our mountainside village with cozy lodging, just steps from dining, shopping, and a massive lineup of activities. We're talking indoor pools, hot tubs, the FunZone, family adventures, nighttime entertainment, and so much more. All in one unbeatable location. Park once, play all week, and let the good times roll. Visit smugs.com. Where do you ski in Montana? I know you're in Bozeman.
Yeah, I tell people I film at Big Sky and ski at Bridger.
Why do you say that?
Because Bridger's kind of this like homey mom and pop resort that kind of stays under the radar.
Nice.
And typically tries to stay out of the kind of limelight of the ski industry for the most part and does their own thing. And then Big Sky obviously is like this bigger corporate ski area and trying to get more tourists there. So that's kind of how I put it.
I like that, man. Well, tell me a little more about ninja sticking. Where did you come up with this name?
My friend Mike Gardner, who also sadly passed away a few years ago in Nepal, he was helping guide a full civilian trip for Paradox Sports along with other XM guides up the Grand Teton. I'd say 2014, yeah. And he was watching me precariously place my crutches on the edge of cliffs, and there's a section called Wall Street, and I think it's like 3 foot wide shelf that you walk up to another pitch. But he was watching me like place my crutches on the edge of it and with like a 2,000 foot sheer drop right next to it. He's like, damn, dude, this is like straight up ninja staking. And it's kind of stuck ever since. It's kind of a funny play on, you know, medical equipment. Always this like negative aura around medical equipment when we talk about it, you know, wheelchairs or walkers or braces or crutches or you name it. But this is kind of a fun reframing of it. I think every time I say like these are my ninja sticks to little children, they're like very curious about what they are, they want to use them and that kind of stuff. So I think it kind of shifts the narrative to be more playful versus like this like daunting sad ethos that's been created around the disability space. So that's kind of how it formed and started shifting that into my motto. It's stuck ever since, and now I tag everything ninja sticking, and I can look back at it, everything that I've tagged ninja sticking, and other people have started tagging the stuff ninja sticking, which is cool to see. A small little movement in the crutch space.
That's great. I mean, I think all of us can put those two words on a scale, you know, crutch and ninja stick, and feel which one has more power. So to flip that narrative, because words and language are so important, especially when it comes to people that are being othered or feeling like they're on the outside of kind of cultural group. You know, when you can flip that narrative and make it into something super cool and powerful, that has a lot of weight.
Have you watched the movie Arrival?
The Hollywood movie, yeah.
Yeah, the Hollywood alien movie. I think it's my favorite alien movie just because it talks about language and communication. I forget the exact quote, but it says language is the first tool wielded in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So I think like knowing the correct word to say or how to say it is a great way to either help people take their guard down or sometimes it creates walls too. So yeah, I think language is definitely a massive tool in creating relationships or breaking them. So
very true.
Yeah.
And I assume you're bilingual, and you know, when you can speak other languages too, that access you get to the culture built around that language is insane. I've spent a lot of time in South America, and before I could speak Spanish, I just was de facto on the outside of it. And then once you crack the code, because it is a code, it's a different code. Once you crack that code, oh my gosh, the world just opens up to you in ways you could never imagine, and in ways that you can't really explain to someone that might not speak that language. So language is intensely powerful. But I am curious more about your Grand Teton Summit. Could you tell us the rest of that story? You're ninja sticking on these 2,000 foot precipices, and how did that climb go? What did you experience?
It was really cool. I mean, it was like one of my first major experiences doing something extreme with a full adaptive team. And I was, 24 at the time, so still a child pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of an eye-opening experience to be able to do that with other adaptive athletes. A lot of them still working through their own traumas. I was still working through mine and started to develop myself as an athlete. But yeah, it was super cool to experience that. The interview that they did with Mike, he's like, I wasn't really guiding him or giving him any beta because half the beta wouldn't work anyways. I was just like, all right, I'll keep you safe. You figure it out. And I would just like do these intricate rock climbing moves, one leg on the Exum Ridge. And he was always like, okay, sick. On to the next pitch. You know, it's like, oh, it's like climbing with friends almost. A little slower, but nothing too outrageous. So yeah, that was super cool to experience that with people and just be able to summit with a full team of para athletes. I think that kind of was another turning point in me moving out to Montana. I had moved out like literally that summer and got invited to climb the Grand that fall. So it was just kind of a big eye-opening experience. Be like, oh, okay, this is what the West is built on, you know, a little bit. At least the mountain space. And it was cool to just like dive right into it in that way.
Could you tell us about your Ninja Stick variations? What did you use on the Grand Teton? And then sounds like you've made snowshoes. And do you have little skins that go on that are, you can take them on and off? They're adaptable to that. And what other, and I know you said you have an ice axe.
So there aren't that many variations. I use my everyday crutches for everything, from playing soccer to skateboarding to trail running. They're literally just a tube of titanium with a handle and a cuff and a rubber tip. I started using custom height ones sometime in college and pretty much like right when I stopped vertically growing. And prior to that, I used to have forearm crutches that I would break probably every 2 or 3 weeks from playing soccer or skateboarding or doing something athletic. So nice change of pace to go to a custom height one where I think I've had to change them out every 7 years, changing out the rubber tips because they wear off, changing out the grips because they wear off, and then like looking at them after several years being like, okay, this is a giant crack. I should probably get this warranted or something, or have a friend like weld it or something for me. So that's been my go-to for mostly everything. And then for skiing, Enabling Technologies has been super supportive of me, and they've given me a few outriggers. Now, again, custom height ones. The prior ones were adjustable, and I've put a nice little angled kink in them that I donated and gave to adaptive organizations that needed it. They could kind of fix it or change out the parts because they had a few parts lying around. But now my outriggers are also custom height. I go a little shorter because when I'm skiing downhill, I don't want them to catch as much. What we call 3-trackers, ski 2 outriggers, making 3 tracks in the snow, typically go a little longer so they can keep the outriggers on the snow. Mm-hmm. But as I tell people who are progressing, like start shortening those up a little bit and you'll start relying more just on your leg instead of the outriggers. They're kind of just like this balancing tool more than anything. If you watch me ski, like I just tap it like a pole plant. But yeah, the outriggers I use, they have a little ski on the bottom. This, again, Enabling Technology makes all this, where if I pull a string, it pops it up into what is walk mode on the bottom of that ski as it like flips vertical. There's like spikes on the bottom that I can walk on like ice and
that's cool.
Yeah, so it just doesn't slip out. And then the things that I've made are the snowshoe basket ascender plates out of a skin loop in the front and a belay strap, ski strap in the back. So it loops on to the ski in the front, and then I just crank it on the back so it stays on. And then the other thing I made is the ice axe attachment right by that handle to help with steeper skiing, uphill, security, just overall ice axe pretty much that's rigged right onto the outrigger.
So when you're climbing, you use the snowshoe adapter.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then the bottom of that snowshoe, I don't need any additional grips because if you look at the bottom of snowshoes, they have all these teeth and stuff.
Textured.
So that's what it looks like on the bottom, and it's definitely grabby on snow, which is great. It's a little wider, so I don't post hole as much because prior to that, I was just putting ski touring skins on the bottom and I was just post holing up to my shoulder. So it's a nice change of pace there. Helps me kind of just stay vertical.
That's really cool, man. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's just fascinating. I think our listeners love learning about those tools as well. Beyond sport, and you do a lot beyond sport, you've built a career in DEI advocacy. And I'm just curious, what drives you to center on inclusion in the outdoor space? And maybe tell us a little bit about your organization, the Inclusive Outdoors Project.
Yeah, I mean, I started developing muscle for inclusion pretty much right when I was in college. Started involving myself more in the adaptive sports space and learning about adaptive sports. Prior to that, I was mostly just skiing with non-disabled people all the time, and most of them would just say like, they would forget that I have one leg or ask like, why is there only one shoe at the door kind of situation, which is great. But then I also need help carrying my food sometimes, so please don't forget that. All these little things. But yeah, in college is when I started really starting to learn about the disability space, started involving myself more so with Vermont Adaptive. During the summer, I would volunteer on Lake Champlain, taking out veterans and other people with disabilities out on Lake Champlain. And then the coordinator there was like, hey, we have an internship position for the winter at Sugarbush. You should, quote unquote, apply. Like, I know you will most likely accept you. So did that, took part in that and fell in love with it. There was a lesson I was on, and the kid, I want to say he had Down syndrome. He was like preteens or teenager, and he was getting tethered because otherwise he would kind of roam off into the woods. So he had a tether on his skis to help him turn and stop. But we were just going down a run that many of us would think is just like a ski run back to the lodge. And this was like his favorite ski run. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm just like here trying to help make sure he's having fun. And then I was looking over at him and he was having the time of his life. He was hooting and hollering and just like the biggest smile on his face. And that's when I started noticing that it's not really about the difficulty or the terrain or whatever. It's just about this feeling that we get from these sports.
Yes.
In this like particular case, skiing. So from that point on, I was very much focused on adaptive sports and wanting to get myself more involved in it beyond this internship. And after that, I had moved to Montana. I started diving more into it with a local organization here in Bozeman. Slowly got hired onto the staff as a program coordinator. Then I jumped as a 23, 24-year-old as their program director for adaptive sports. So running their ski program at Bridger Bowl and helping out with the Big Sky adaptive ski program a little bit with their coordinator. And then in the summer, running our summer camps program for rafting, kayaking, climbing, hiking, fishing, you name it. We were trying to do it with the kids and adults. Yeah, so that kind of started really helping me focus on the adaptive sports side of things. And then I started kind of diving through the help of another friend into more of the racial justice side of stuff. An organization had popped up in town or was starting to grow, and they were trying to provide more education and events around diverse communities. And I was like, oh, I identify as a racially diverse person here in Bozeman. We don't see that many. It's 90% white in Bozeman. So start to dive into that, learn a bit more about that, read books, listen to podcasts, you name it, follow creators and social media accounts and all these things, learn more about it. Started to learn about that and disability and gender and sexuality, and started really incorporating that into my lifestyle. And that started diving me into what intersectionality was. And that's also part of my motto now, or has been for the past several years. And based on that, like, then COVID happened and decided like, hey, like some of these communities are the most impacted disproportionately. Like we should try to do something to help them get outside. Like I love getting outside. I still get outside during COVID. What can we do? I guess I have a fair bit of influence in the outdoor industry. 2020, and me and a friend of mine, Sophia, founded Inclusive Outdoors Project. Our flagship program was ice climbing. Ironically, ice climbing is one of the quote-unquote more accessible extreme winter sports.
Oh, really? Wow.
If you can imagine it. I mean, like obviously the equipment is expensive and whatnot, but there's not really many prerequisites when it comes to ice climbing, especially top rope ice climbing. You just have to be motivated to go ice climbing, which many people might not be.
It's cold, man.
Yeah, it's cold and you're just standing there a lot of the times, but once you're on the rope, people love it. You can trade off tools, you can trade off crampons, all these things. So yeah, we started getting people out. People were stoked about it. People liked it. There's more organizations we started partnering with, like Climbers of Color and Queer Mountaineers, Adaptive Climbing Group. out of the East Coast. So started growing into something more. A friend of mine came out to run the rut, and I was running the rut at the same time, and that was like the year I think that was like prior to 2020. I was running the rut at the same time
And
in
tell us, what is the
association.
rut?
The Rut is a big trail running event that's based in Montana, one of the bigger ones. It's like 4,500 people take part.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the bigger trail running events in the country. I mean, a friend of mine now, Mike Foote, who's an athlete on North Face, is organizing it. Him, Mike Foote, and Mike Wolf were the two organizers. They were both on North Face. Yeah, I took part in the 11K, and I had another friend who was taking part in one of the runs, or her partner was taking part in one of the runs, and she's started the Harlem Run Club, black woman based out of Harlem, and now lives in Seattle with her partner. But she came up to me and was like, wow, this is a very white trail race. Like, what's happening here? So that kind of planted a seed in my mind, and then I started talking with the Mikes about it, and they were all about Inclusive Outdoors Project and wanting to create something that could help get more diverse communities involved. And our mission, again, is to get communities from racially diverse communities, the LGBTQ community, and the disabled community involved to all these activities. So we started creating like an application process to help kind of subsidize the registration process and provide scholarships, and then based on that create community driven spaces. So we have potlucks and dinners and a tent space at the base area so people can hang out and feel like there's like a more of a community aspect to it, instead of just like randomly showing up at a 4,000 or 5,000 person trail race and not knowing anybody. So tried to make that. That's going to happen again this year. We're excited. Mike expanded our scholarship opportunities to 100 runners. So every year, it's grown over more and more, and people are always excited. The last year we developed a non-binary category, one of the first ones for trail running, which is really cool, and non-binary podium as well. And this year there's going to be a prize purse for that. So slowly developing inclusive practices around the whole intersectionality model through Inclusive Outdoors Project. And then one of the things that I really wanted to start up, which is heavily resourced, is adaptive backcountry skiing courses. So
Nice.
2 years ago, finally launched that with the help of one of my friends who runs Beartooth Powder Guides out of Cook City. He has a close buddy of his who was born without one arm and has like a few inches of another arm. He's a professional flat track dirt biker. He wanted to get his buddy, who is the professional flat track dirt biker, these limb differences into the backcountry a bit more. And yeah, I started developing a relationship with them, both of them. Was able to develop Adaptive Backcountry's course with the help of my program coordinator, Danny Arovich, who's a Paralympic biathlete here in Bozeman. That's been a cool process to build that. We made a film about it last year, and it's been kind of touring with a few little film festivals. I mean, we got into mountain film, which is always a big one to be able to try to get into, and got into other small ones as well, which is very exciting. So just trying to share the growth of getting more adaptive athletes out into the backcountry. A lot of skiers and snowboarders in the para space, para adaptive, same, get to a certain level. They typically try to aim for the Paralympics, just trying to create more avenues for people to experience the outdoors besides just competition. So I personally despise competition for skiing. I don't really care too much about it. I like watching it and whatnot, but taking part in it, I could care less. I'm not going to put on Lycra and run through gates no matter how many times people have asked me to do so. I'm all about getting into the backcountry and getting into bigger mountains and detouring and jumping off cliffs, and I want to see more adaptive athletes doing that. And I know they want to. Just building that access for them is going to take a minute and has taken a minute. It's exciting to see Beartooth Powder Guides and my friend Reed, who is the owner of that, excited about helping us develop that program and expanding that to more and more people. This past season, we ran one for the deaf community, which was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Very different than maybe someone with a physical disability. So that was an eye-opener for me. It was really cool to just kind of be more of a supporting member, not a leader in that space, which is needed too. Hopefully that space gets expanded too for deaf skiers and snowboarders. And yeah, just trying to keep expanding the the adaptive backcountry space. Hopefully this year, we still have to push it a little bit in our marketing, but trying to develop a sit ski specific, more so avalanche awareness course. I wouldn't say it's too focused on the rescue side. Can't quite wrap my head around how someone in a monoski would perform a rescue, but who knows? Mine has been blown away by some of the things some of these athletes do. So yeah, we're trying to develop that a little bit, see if people are interested in learning about just how to navigate backcountry terrain in a sit ski. You know, there's a ton of sit skiers out there that are skiing avalanche terrain. I just don't know how much avalanche awareness and education that they have. So I'm just trying to expand that to a broader definition of disability.
That is all fascinating. That really leads me to want to do an entire podcast on what you're talking about. So it's going to be really hard to, I guess we have to use the word distill, but if you could take all, I mean, you are so involved in all this. You're almost too close to it at this point, I feel. You are a participant. You have one leg. You are racially diverse. You're involved in all these ways. You're part of this inclusive outdoors project. You do adaptive backcountry and more, and all these races, all the way out to people who are deaf. It's kind of incredible. Then I love the non-binary stuff. I'm sure you're getting into all of it. Most of us don't have this much knowledge. If you could distill a learning for us of all the stuff you learned, like what can you share with us today that might open our eyes from what you've learned from all these people and all these experiences and yourself being a person and a leader in this space?
The one very, very simple quote that I always go back to, do you know the golden rule?
I love the golden rule.
Can you repeat the golden rule to me?
I'm guessing it's not going to be the golden rule you're saying, but it's do unto others as you would do unto yourself.
Yeah, right. Treat others how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
I have this like golden rule 2.0. I don't know where I heard it. I heard it years ago. And it was treat others how they want to be treated.
Mm.
And that
I like
fully has reframed my mindset
Mm-hmm.
on how to develop relationships with people, especially people that are very different from me, which is pretty much everybody. No one's going to have lived the same life that I have. That's kind of how I view any relationship. But the only way to treat others how they want to be treated is to get to know them.
Yes.
Get to know them on a personal level, break bread with them, be curious, work to not be judgmental in a world full of judgment, go into their spaces where I would feel uncomfortable. You know, all these things that kind of build up in helping me treat them how they want to be treated. So that's kind of been the focus of my ethos and how I kind of navigate life through all of these spaces.
That was a great way to boil it down for us. I really appreciate that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Treat people as they want to be treated. And it's something my wife says a lot. My wife is a business person, and she's encountered a lot of challenges being a woman in that space. And she always says that. She's like, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. If that person is offended, that's what matters. And that's where the conversation begins. Or whatever that, if that person is uncomfortable or if that person has been othered, that's where the conversation begins. And so I really like that. I am also curious, who inspires your activism, your ski style, your worldview? Are there any people that you really follow or that you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
I mean, as of recent, it's been pretty cool to start connecting with some of the idols that I used to watch skiing, of course. You know, I mean, I'm close friends with Ingrid now, and she's definitely
amazing.
Someone I knew she was cool, but then like once I actually got to know her even more, I was like, oh wow, you're like the most considerate person I've ever met in my life, you know? So
She's smart too.
She's super outgoing, super caring, and just thoughtful. She's been super cool to just kind of build a relationship on and kind of bounce ideas off of over the past several years, especially with building out the approach films that we've been taking part in for the past several years, and just kind of going from there and just seeing her be a mom and trying to navigate all these, I would say, insecurities of like, why am I skiing these big lines? Well, I have 2 young kids at home, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if dads feel the same way. I mean, I know I would, but I don't know if dads would feel the same way or have the same thought process, or they're just told to then like shut up about it or whatever. But Ingrid definitely has been kind of vocal about that. And every time we go up to Alaska, which has been like the past 4 years together, she's always kind of she's definitely frothing. She's the biggest frother I've ever met in my life.
Oh, wow.
As someone that's in her, like, has been in the game for so long, I'm like, usually, like, people's fuel runs out, but I don't think hers has gotten any lower than since her 20s. It seems like she's always down to do it. You know, the last couple of years we've gone up, like, she's always kind of been a little hard on herself because she didn't get to ski the most epic line and whatnot. I'm like, Ingrid, I don't know if you know this, but one of our closest friends just died a week ago. Like, we
Oh,
don't need to ski the biggest line. Like, I
no.
think, again, success, and I think she's shifting into that realm as well. I think success, again, is to just make it home safely and be able to experience these things. But obviously, like, as pro skiers, we have such high expectations for ourselves because some of those moments are, for me, like, I know when I'm on and I know when I'm doing really good, and then I know when I'm like very off and I'm like, wow, I did not ski well that day, you know? So just trying to balance that out. And I think Ingrid's still an amazing person at doing that, and just being in the mountains with her has been really cool to kind of just see it firsthand more than anything.
She's a very special person in a lot of ways. We had her on the podcast, and it was really neat talking to her and her backstory and about her brothers and all that stuff. And she's been in so many incredible movies. And yeah, she has nothing at all to prove. She did that. You know, she's been one of the best skiers of all time. And thinking of ski movies, how many ski movies have you been in? And which one is your favorite and maybe means the most to you?
I mean, I've only been in a few. Like, I don't really try to take part with the TGRs or the matchsticks or anything. I don't really want to dive into that kind of skiing style. I'm
Tell me
not
why.
looking. I don't know. I think ski movies have become music videos.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to like talk bad about all the athletes are doing amazing stuff, and I'm like, I've been there. I've been up to Alaska, and I've skied some. I've looked at these lines. Never gonna try to ski what the Collinson's like straight line. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's
Right.
terrifying, you know. But I don't know. I feel like it's just not approachable. It's just such a holy grail for a lot of average skiers. And I kind of call it the Red Bull effect of almost anything, of like people trying to go too hard and then just destroying themselves, especially just like the average Joe, more so than anything. Obviously, they're like giant stoke fests. People are always so excited to watch them. And every time I
Yeah.
watch it, I'm like, my heart is racing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just like not possible to just be chill through a ski movie nowadays. I still think my favorite ski movie is Signatures. Have you seen that one? You remember that one?
I don't remember that one. Who made that?
It was Wheatgrass Productions like
Oh, they're so
years
good.
ago. It's just like a very calm and chill Japan powder, just soul turning pretty much, which is really cool. Cool. I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes watching ski films and leading into that side of ski culture.
So if you could make your dream ski movie, what would it look like?
I don't know. I mean, we're still working on one for Denali, so we'll see how
Oh,
that
cool.
goes. I mean, I think we made our dream ski film with The Approach. It's really cool
Hmm.
to take part in that. It was quite a hodgepodge of people that some of them knew each other, some of them didn't. It was super diverse, and we had to work through the dynamics of how that would work out, especially with navigating a very bro-y ski space.
Very broy.
Was really cool to take part in something like that. Mostly, you know, women centered, but that's totally chill with me. I really love skiing. Mostly, actually, I really enjoy skiing mostly with women for the most part, just because of their pace and their awareness of everything that's happening around them, not just for themselves, but for the whole team. So again, yeah, Ingrid being a big contributor in that was a super cool experience. And just seeing how impactful and how much of a paradigm shift that created over the years for other creators and filmmakers to jump away from the super extreme ski films or ski production companies and start making their own stuff. That's been, I think that was kind of the very heartwarming part of the whole thing, is just like seeing the impact and quote unquote like the mini legacy that we left behind from it. I'm just like, look, you don't have to take part in the TGRs and the matchsticks to make it as a skier. You can try to create your own crew and start doing it yourself. I mean, it's going to take a lot of time to reinvent the wheel, but at the end of the day, like, maybe you don't even want to be on the shoots with TGR from some of the horror stories we hear, but it's just yeah, it's like, I don't know. For us as the approach, like, and people have come out with us and they're just like, wow, you guys are the most supportive crew I've ever been able to ski with. Most of the time, it's just, we're doing another lap. You didn't do it that good, so you're going up again. It's like, oh man, Jesus. No, we're I don't know. It was just a bit more of a thoughtful space. And that, I feel like, hopefully is shifting the ski space a bit more, but who knows?
I think you're right. I think all the things you say are true. And I think also people are more interested in storytelling now. And those movies you're talking about don't tell a story. They tell a story of just extreme radness and the very pinnacle of the sport, maybe in that small niche, in that esoteric space. But I think the true storytelling that humans have been designed to enjoy is more inclusive and more relatable, really. It's like, can I relate to this? And as you said, a lot of times with those hardcore movies, we can't at all. Yeah. It's just not something that we're never going to go heli skiing in Alaska. It's just too ridiculous. Yeah. But I am curious, what's next for you and your journey? Any upcoming projects or adventures or anything you can share?
To close out the summer, I have a soccer tournament in Boston for...
Oh, nice. I'm so excited for you, man. Congratulations, by the way, on making the team. To me, that is so cool.
I mean, every year we have to try out, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe the young guns will kick me off the team finally, but not yet. I think they're still a little too small to push people off the ball. But
nice.
Yeah, soccer tournament, which is, we call it the U.S. Cup. It's all the regional teams in the U.S. So right now I think there's 5 or 6 teams from around the country.
Oh, cool.
So New York, New England, Chicago, Columbus, Miami, Colorado, I believe are the ones, but there might be a few more. That'll be cool to take part. That's in Boston. It's always fun to go to the East Coast, different energy there. And then as winter comes around, we'll probably do another ice clinic in December, which typically happens, and we call it inclusive ice climbing clinics, and that's, again, intersectional for adaptive, queer and BIPOC communities. Yeah, just trying to expand as much as we can in this anti-DEI time, how we can still keep supporting our communities. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to expand the adaptive backcountry skiing courses. While I'm in Boston, the rut is happening, so be a thing. And then we'll see. I mean, Ingrid typically sends me a message day before we go up to Alaska, being like, invites me to go to Alaska like the day before, and we'll see if that happens again in March or April. Typically, I hold on to my travel and project budgets that these companies give me until then. And then, I don't know, as for like winter, I mean, it's saying Montana is going to be a good one, so
I saw that.
We'll see how it goes. Last year, I didn't have to travel much because we just kept getting hammered with snow.
It was epic there, man. Yeah, I'm banking on being in Jackson a bunch this year if this long-range forecast holds true. Probably
should have put a GoPro on my helmet, but I most of the time just don't care enough to do that.
Well, what you're doing is better. People much rather watch the third-party footage. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping this footage of me skiing this massive Alaska spine comes out here soon, because I think it was pretty monumental for myself as well as the adaptive skiing community.
I'm pumped to see that. But where will we find that video?
It was a North Face thing, so hopefully North Face puts it out here soon to hype people up for the winter.
Well, keep us posted on that.
I think I've slightly unlocked how to ski Alaskan spines, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Scary, man. So scary.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. That's all I've got for you, Vasu. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Thank you so much for your time and energy today. Do you have anything else you'd like to share here at the end of the show?
No, I think that's about it. I think there's plenty.
That is plenty, man. I think we went through it all. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the day.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to the SnowBrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with friends and family, and please be sure to subscribe. To find out more about SnowBrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and more. Get ready for the mountain experience you've been craving. Smugglers Notch brings the heat with 3 big mountains, over 1,000 acres of terrain, a jaw-dropping 300+ inches of snowfall every year. Beginners get smooth, confidence-building zones. Intermediate gets trails with real personality. And experts, well, This is the home to the only triple black diamond in the East. Steeps, glades, character for days. That's the real deal. Visit smugs.com. This episode of the SnowBrains podcast was edited by Liam Abbott, and I'm your host, Miles Clark.